I'm Danielle Weisz from Aberdeen, South Dakota at Northern State University, and my project involved looking at empathy in pre-service teachers and comparing it to the other schools on my campus. So I took the Interpersonal Reactivity Index, the 28 questionnaire made up of 4 subscales of empathy, and I handed that out to the pre-service teachers in their professional blocks and then various seniors from the other colleges. And then I compared the data that I got out of that with a chi-score analysis and then an ANOVA one-way analysis, and I tried to confirm my hypothesis that pre-service teachers had higher empathy than non-education majors. And I found, especially using my chi-score analysis, that that wasn't necessarily true, but I did find that pre-service teachers were less likely to possess low empathy, which is also a good characteristic to have. So I found that using my chi-score. And then with my ANOVA one-way, I didn't find anything of much significance except for 2 things. Within the subscale of personal distress, I found that there's a significant difference in means between the pre-service teachers and the School of Arts and Sciences. And I also found on a specific question in the empathy concern subscale that there's a huge difference in means between, again, the pre-service teachers and the School of Arts and Sciences. Well, it started when I had to take a class where we were trying to figure out what our thesis was going to be, and I stumbled upon this topic of empathy, and it kind of grabbed my attention. And then the next fall, Ruby Payne, she writes a lot about poverty and how you can help your students who are in poverty. That really grabbed my attention again, and then it was just a snowball that kept going, and then it transformed into my project.
Scale, it just jumped it right out at me. What is that measuring?
It's one of the subscales on the Interpersonal Reactivity Index, and it's like how you're able to put yourself in fantasy situations, so in characters in movies and in books, and so that's part of one of the 4 subscales.
What would be the next step?
I actually am not completely done with this because it is my thesis. So the next step would be to post-test the pre-service teachers because they're currently student teaching right now, and then I'll compare their pre- and post-tests.
And do you plan on continuing this research?
I'm not sure yet. I know once my thesis is done, I can take a huge breath. So we'll see what the next step is after that's done.
Very good. Excellent. And I hear that empathy is at a record low in the current generation. Have you heard this as well? I'm not sure I believe it, but this is what the psychologists are telling me.
I mean, I would kind of believe it, but I mean, in my research, I didn't really look at everyone as a whole. It was really focusing on like how teachers need to be empathetic and how important it is. So I haven't done any research as my generation as a whole, but I guess it wouldn't surprise me.
And what do you think the impact will be when your thesis is done and you start sharing your results with people?
I think it'll give my school, the School of Education, a chance to maybe look at like what we're doing in classes, and if there isn't much growth in empathy, what we can do to maybe give opportunities or classes that will make it grow.
Can empathy be taught?
You know, I'm not sure. I think it's more of nature and nurture. So you are who you are, and then you are presented with certain situations. And so the more situations that you experience, the more you can grow into an empathetic person. But again, you start out who you are. So it's kind of, you either have it or you don't. And then I'd like to just thank the School of Education and my thesis advisor, Dean Geyer, and Dr. Howard from the School of Education, and then my honors advisor, Aaron Fulbert.